Okay, hi everyone. My name is Jason,
And I'm Sarah.
and this is the Posture Podcast. Posture is a boutique consulting firm that works with clients on product marketing and product strategy. If you have a new product or feature, specifically something that is related to AI, and want to take it to market, we will work with you and your product teams and your C suite to pick the right strategy, find the right market, and uh, put together the right playbook and execute on that playbook. All right. So we are excited about today's podcast. We have a topic that is near and dear to the heart of every product marketer, which is battle cards, or maybe it's near and dear to the heart of every salesperson, which is battle cards. We're going to talk about a couple of different ways in which we do battle cards and um, specifically the pros and cons and what should go into them and that kind of stuff. Give you some templates from our tried and true to efforts in communicating the value propositions of our products to the sales team and making sure that they're well armed for today's battle, which is like a really like militaristic way of looking at things. I prefer to say that these are information cards that convey factoids about the competitor, which would best them and prop up your value proposition. But Sarah
I mean,
hates
there's a
that.
lot of like metaphors you can use, like, going into battle, war room, strategy, front
Good.
lines. I mean, I really like the play on words. But then we have
The
tear
play on.
sheets, which aren't
That's right.
really.
No, it has a really grab and go feel to it. Well, anyways, we're going to talk about all that. But of course, you guys like to send in your comments or questions for us, and we like to share them. And so the first segment is Make It Make Sense. Dun, 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 dun. So, Sarah, we do have a question, which
Mhm.
someone sent to info@posture.consulting. And this question is really about emerging technologies and how we think about them, what they are, and kind of what are the benefits of different things, and do we use them in product marketing? And so the question is, I hear a lot about Gen AI and
Mhm.
Agentic AI. These things sound
Mhm.
so close together. What is the difference between those two, and how do you use them, or how do you think about them as a product marketer?
Well, I mean, there's definitely a big difference between Gen AI and Agentic AI. Gen AI is used to produce pictures, to make pictures, to create code, text. Agentic AI is more like the AI that we people think of, like it's going to take over the world. Like agentic AI plans, executes tasks, interacts with different tools and environments. Agentic AI is like an assistant. Um, Gen AI would be like your artistic designer or something like that. And agentic AI would be your personal assistant kind of thing. Um, so, like some common use cases for uh, Gen AI would be content creation, um, media generation, ideation, um, anything that you want to use to make image, video. A lot of editing software uses Gen AI, but you use Gen AI for the content creation and the editing and the videos and the ads, but you would use agentic AI to deploy and implement and analyze that ad campaign and track it and schedule it and stuff like that. So that's kind of they work hand in hand a lot, but that's kind of the key difference between Gen AI and agentic AI. Is your creative director, but then your personal assistant kind
I
of
love
thing.
that. Or as you kind of put it, like Gen AI is the creative thing, and agentic AI is the thing that's going to take over the world. That's
Yeah.
that's that's fantastic.
If
This is very
yes,
jaded.
I mean, we both have had experiences with AI that don't put a lot of faith in it being able to take over the world. I think we're kind of far from that. Uh,
Yeah, at
yeah.
least a couple of months, at least 4 or 5 new releases.
I mean,
Yeah,
there's
it's
like this agentic AI in fast food, like in through drive-throughs, and it can't even take an order in a drive-through uh, consistently well enough for it to not, create problems. The first time I saw it, I just wanted to add water to my order, and it completed it for me. I could not add water. I was like, I'm not done with my order. I'm not done. And it was
I'm
like,
still
drive to the next
thirsty.
window.
Where
So,
you can interact with another robot. That's very funny. Yeah, it's actually funny. We've done an exploration recently. We do a lot of product marketing for AI products, particularly Gen AI. And in the last year or so, increasingly using computer vision or agentic AI. And I think the way you describe it is perfect. Like the from a product marketer perspective, what we would use is tools that use generative AI a lot. Things like Midjourney or Dolly or Jasper or Write Sonic. These are
mhm.
good tools to have in your toolbox if you're a product marketer because you can generate a lot of content. um, but the other problem that we run into is, it's kind of like the consultant's folly. I don't know if that's the right term, but where we're constantly working with our clients, and client work comes first, posture work comes second. So we've learned to generate a lot of this content, but then also need support when it comes to making sure posts get posted to the right
Mhm.
platforms, and we get feedback about what's going on those platforms. We're
Yes.
interacting with people in appropriate timeframes and things like that. And so that's where we're starting to play more and more with agentic tech, is making sure that we're, creating these, robots, if you will, making sure that you guys get water, but creating these robots in which, we're not only just, kind of coming up with the ideas, but generating the content, generating the images that go along with it, the SEO language that goes along with it, and then make
Mhm.
sure that it gets posted and gets tracked. And so we're looking at ways as a boutique company, as a small company, in our own workflows to automate those things, to
Yeah.
leverage. We don't leverage computer vision much. We let our big clients do that, and we love to play with that kind of stuff and their big budgets. But as a small business doing product marketing, these kinds of tools, there's a lot of great tools out there for product marketers to be able to do these kind of stuff. So it's kind of exciting. It's an exciting time. And to Sarah's point, I mean, this stuff can't even give you a glass of water. So don't expect it to post to the right platform, or come up with like an image of you with 3 hands. But what I like is probably at least one of those hands, the fingers will be pens. So that's that's the
Well,
key.
there's a lot
That's the
of
key.
companies using it. Like 11 Labs has an entire uh, subscription or entire plan where they're using agentic AI as customer service agents, and you can train the voice, the script, everything, uh, and it will answer phone calls for you. Um,
Hmm.
the script would be, you could use Gen AI to uh, write the script, and then agentic AI to be the agent, the customer service agent.
It's
So
amazing.
it's, I mean, it's being used everywhere. It's being used in a lot of places, but I know CVS uses it when you're calling about prescriptions. Yeah, there's a lot.
There
It's
is.
kind of everywhere right now.
It's amazing. It's amazing, and it's a great opportunity for product marketers to get out there,
Mhm.
use the tools, but also I think there's a lot of ways in which these companies are coming online, and the reality is they're making the same, kind of classic mistakes that a .com did in the late '90s, or various companies do on the regular when they first start up and they don't really understand the differences between a feature and a benefit. Well, that is true with a lot of these companies that are coming out with great tech, but bad product marketing. And that's where the opportunity lies for us, certainly with working with our clients, but for a lot of folks out there. The demand is really high for product marketing right now because there's so much
Yeah.
that needs to be clarified around what these technologies are.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I
And
love
I
that.
see
Yeah.
a lot of commercials about, oh, you have a whole team in this one AI. But my issue is I don't trust it enough to be able to properly do all of those things. Um, I feel like I'd have to go behind it and constantly be checking it. And I
Yeah.
haven't tried any of those apps out, but I don't know. I don't
You're
know.
not seeing it.
Obviously, there's
You know.
that human element that's missing that kind of really thinks about the nuance of situations. And people
Mm-hmm.
want to talk to an actual human because that human understands.
Mm-hmm.
There are, it's not just A, B, or C. Like there's a whole 26 letter alphabet.
Yeah, that's right, and it explains your art choices, Sarah. It explains your art. That wasn't generative. Yeah, no, I think that's a really interesting point. The human, we're still in a stage where the value of the human is to provide the judgment and reasoning, and be able to bring a point of view or synthesize a point of view in a way that right now only tools, these AI tools, can only capture, you know, chunks of it, and so it still takes experienced strategists to come in and do that. So interesting. Gen AI versus agentic AI, not the same. As Sarah said it, Gen AI, your creative assistant, agentic AI, the one to watch out for.
Yes.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
Which brings us to our next segment, which is marketing side eye. I feel like we just gave a lot of side eye to
We
AI.
kind of did. It was kind
That
of
was a
like
lot of
merged
side eye.
together.
Yeah, wow. That was, yeah. Um, but the one I was thinking about actually, as we were kind of putting together the program today, one of the ones that I think about, and actually relates very nicely to the topic of the day, which is battle cards, is sometimes you get asked for comparison sheets, and in the theme of the day, this is something that uh, RFP managers love to have. Like they just love a long checklist of what we have versus
Mm.
what the competitors have. Sales people, particularly enterprise sales, where you might be in a long sales cycle and you're constantly having to re-educate new sets of stakeholders, they tend to want quick and easy client-facing materials. And as you all know, and we've talked about in the past, and we'll talk tons about in the future, we like to have big databases of competitive information, both in terms of like what our strengths and weaknesses are, our being our clients, um, what the value propositions are, what the positioning statements are, individual like reasons to believe behind each thing, and we do
Hmm.
the exact same work. We call it a heat map. We do the exact same work on a set of high frequency competitors, those people that we, or those players that we come across all the time. And there's going to bound to be at least a handful of those if you're in a large market. The thing is that that is not client facing. The last thing I want to show, or Sarah wants to show to a buyer, is this like manifesto on all of these competitors and what they're,
Yeah.
not the least of which we don't even like to show to clients. It's very much a deeply closely held volume of information because basically you want to make sure that it gets interpreted and used in the right ways. And a lot of times there might be shorthand in there or something like that.
Hmm.
That
Yeah.
said, we often get the request that we make some version of that that is client facing. And, it might be as simple as here's 10 or, yeah, I would say no more than 10, but 10 different features we know the buyer is particularly interested in. These are their decision making criteria or something like that that the salesperson knows. How do we compare to the other major player that is
Mm.
in the competitive sales cycle? And maybe you put one or two, or you put an anchor one on there that the salesperson didn't want, but because you think it helps drive home the messaging. That's fine. I think that makes sense. You do that. It's a sales piece. You want it to look good. You want your company, your product to look good. That's fine. That makes sense. My side eye goes to the ones that make it so that your competitor basically does nothing right. It's like your company comes across as overly good on this
Yes, that
comparison sheet.
confirmation
Like,
bias.
yeah, that's very, yeah, I like that. Confirmation bias. Yeah, a check mark across the board. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and a lot of times what they'll do is they'll take that list of 10, features or benefits, and they'll parse it in such a way that it's worded that that competitor maybe just doesn't have it, or you've chosen something that's extremely specific that is not normal to any product.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Hmm.
maybe it's a feature that you have that is a differentiator, and maybe there's a gap there, but you show absolutely no features that are common or things that the buyer would want. The
Yeah.
problem I have with that is, one, it just looks dumb. Like, you look at it and you're like, okay, wait a second, you guys get all the check marks and they get none.
Yeah, it's
It
very
really,
transparent.
yeah,
Like you can
it's
tell when
very
somebody
transparent.
when a company is doing that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
be better than
And it
that.
and it like
If you're going to
it
throw
breaks the
shade,
trust
that's right.
too.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's exactly it right there. It's like it bakes, like, um, breaks the trust. Like,
Yeah.
you're giving me a piece of information that is so obviously biased or slanted towards your company that now I cannot trust anything you guys put out there.
Yeah.
I'm reading your website with a little bit of stink eye. I don't believe the demo is actually your product. Like, any one of those things where you're just throwing it out there that we're absolutely the best and they are absolutely the worst. We don't live in a world of absolutes, and that absolutism calls everything into question. So
Yeah, we
that's
have
why
the
I
whole alphabet, 26 letters.
26 letters. What agent put this together? What end of world bot did this? No, seriously, if you do want to do a good comparison, do, like, put core components of the product, probably
Yeah.
that are table stakes, because it
Hmm.
anchors the difference. But if you put a bunch of stuff that only you have, it doesn't anchor a core difference between you and your competitor, and just calls into the whole question. So your salesperson may want nothing but check marks, or you may want nothing but check marks, but don't do it. Put some check marks on
Don't
your
do it.
players. It's gonna make them look not as good in real terms, because you will have anchored them to something that is just table stakes and everybody's got it. And then you'll show out your real benefits and features that are differentiators. So that's my marketing side eye. The untrustworthy tick box sheet. I don't feel like
Untrustworthy tick
probably,
box.
yeah, I think before the episode in which we teach how to make untrustworthy tick boxes, we should come up with a better term for it. But that's not it. That's not
I like untrustworthy tick boxes.
it. Yeah. This is good. Brought to you by Gen AI. You could use Gen AI to make an untrustworthy tick box. Believe me.
Oh, yeah.
Believe me. Believe me.
Yeah.
That's funny. Okay. So now the part that we are all so profoundly excited about. And this is, like, when I say it's excited, because it's like, this is to some degree product marketing 101. It's competitive intelligence 101. But it's something that we wanted to share with you guys and give our perspective on it, because
Hmm.
it's done well sometimes, it's done poorly sometimes, and you see a lot of bad battle cards out there. So we want to give you some perspective on how we view battle cards, how we use them, or if you've never heard of them, what they are and how to make one. So with
Hmm.
that, I'm gonna kick it over to Sarah, who's gonna share with us 3 different types of battle cards that we have.
Well,
All of
so
these human done. All of these done by human.
I mean, yes. I particularly really like our battle cards. Um, so this is what a normal run-of-the-mill common grab and go battle card would look like some messaging, some strengths and weaknesses. It's used, in my opinion, more for like recall. There's not much to it. It's meant to be quick. uh, it doesn't help position or lead the conversation. uh, and I think that's incredibly important. That's what, if I were a salesperson, that's what I would want in a battle card, is something that uh, literally gives me the words to say, um, that gives me objection handling, that allows for me to tell the story. I don't have to think of anything on the fly. Um, so yeah, this is a normal battle card. Our battle cards are uh, more for, how do I get it to?
Down arrow.
There we go. There we go. This would be something that posture would do, a posture's version of a battle card, which is a succinct front and back uh, competitive brief designed to make fast decisions in sales conversations. It's primarily, obviously, it's client facing. It gives depth of knowledge. It allows for positioning. It helps you shift the narrative in ways that, where you want it to go. It's not just surviving a conversation, it's actually pitching the product. And it's designed to be used in motion, like mid call, mid demo, mid pushback, tailored objections. One of my favorite parts of our battle cards is the they say, we say. I love this because it really, instead of the untrustworthy tick boxing, it's actually taking their words and kind of turning it against them, uh, by using, our clients' words. And this is a much better version of a battle card. And truthfully, I didn't even know what a generic battle card was. I thought that all battle cards were this detailed and this specific and this useful. It wasn't until later on that I realized that that's not the case, which I don't understand why. I don't understand why somebody would make a battle card that looks like this versus like this. So yeah. Now, some common things you might see on one of our battle cards would be a SWOT, and these SWOTs are specific and detailed and researched and true, and very, a lot of thought is put into these SWOTs and a lot of revision. And this is in one of our previous podcasts, we talked about being succinct, and the SWOT is something I am not good at being succinct at, which, and I rely a lot on Jason to take and cut these words down, because I can't have everything in 9.9 point font. Apparently, it's hard to read.
That's true. That is actually true.
And in our key messaging, a lot of our key messaging directly address what they're putting out there and how we respond, to how your client responds to these key messages that they put out there. There's
one of the
also
things, Sarah, just on the SWOT and the key messages point, one of the things I wanted to point out was there should be a one-to-one relationship. I think Sarah was right. This is an interesting SWOT because it's directly about the differences between maybe you and your competitor, but they also need to map to those messaging. You have
Mm-hmm.
very little real estate on this sheet. And so to have something that is kind of a non sequitur to maybe one of your key messages, it's a waste of space. You can put on
Yeah.
something that really illustrates or draws out that message point for the end user of this product. So that's just one thing. Like, make sure it all maps. This is all reinforcing messaging. The
Yes.
they
Yes.
say, we say, the SWOT, the key messages. It's all circular, all reinforcing
Mhm.
messaging.
And it's like it's
So
our
thanks.
science and our story, and
Hmm.
how the science builds up the story. This is just like a battle card version of that,
Hmm.
client facing battle card version of that. So we have the SWOT, we have the key messages, which also incorporate the key differentiators that um, make your client or you stand out versus your competitor. The objection handling, more things would be quick competitor facts, very brief product overview, uh, snapshot of pricing, momentum, any awards that they have, anything that would very quickly answer, so what about pricing? How much is this company compared to your company? Right here on the page. What about uh, proof that this company I does this company have any awards, or um, uh, are in this case, are they, what ESSA category have they been established in, promising or not promising? You can have that right there in front of you to address and to uh, have talking points to steer the narrative.
Hmm.
So this will be our battle card. Next are the tear sheets, and the tear sheets are some of the most intense things, I don't even know what to say, I have ever worked on. Just the amount of information that would be on a tear sheet is insane. And sometimes when we finish them, I just have to take a step back and look at it, just scroll through the deck, and it blows my mind how much information we are able to get on a tear sheet. And so a tear sheet is basically a deep dive analysis of a competitor's go to market strategy, positioning, their features, their market performance. Uh, the audience for the tear sheets are more internal. So your product marketing, leadership teams, product development, stakeholders, any department or team that deals with strategy, these that's what the tear sheets are for. Uh, this is too much for a client or for a customer, and it's too much to ask the sales representative to be able to communicate to a client. And
Yeah,
on
I think.
these, there
Yeah.
we've made anywhere from 2 to 5 pages per competitor. Were you going to say something?
Oh no, I was just going to say, just in terms of volume of content, what you're looking at here is a bunch of 9 point font bullet points. It um, doesn't necessarily speak to the full volume. I think if we were to actually do a competitive teardown, this is akin to maybe a 50 to 80 page slice. And to the point that, kind of, Sarah, you were just making a second ago around the SWATs, it's condense, then condense again, condense again. The goal is to make it something that is really right there in your hands.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a massive amount of work in terms of the actual research and the volume of content that goes into it, and also the amount of synthesis and, like, summarization that you have to do. So like, when you get all the research done, you're about 10% done with the tear sheet.
Well, there's also prioritization. There are
That's right.
signals or facts or messaging that you have to decide if it's relevant enough to put into the tear sheets. That's hard for me sometimes to be able to prioritize those, which is where the 9-point font comes in.
The
So in
9-point
here,
font.
like this is one of my favorite versions of one of my favorite tear sheets that we've done. So we have signals. That takes a ton of research, and we have 3 signals listed here. That is synthesized from a list of, I think one of the competitors had like 18 different signals, and we had to condense them into 3. And it takes a lot of communication with our clients to determine what they want prioritized, and how they want it, how they want the lens, what they want the lens to be focused on. So there's platform signals, positioning breakdowns, uh, a detailed, some of our tear sheets have very, very detailed SWOT analysis, uh, revenue analysis, pricing analysis, win-loss data, traction, timelines for events, um, a lot of visuals, and we always have some kind of scored component, whether it's scored features, or scored how they address pain points, key capabilities, um, whether they match their messaging to their actual capability, how those, which is what this one is, how those match. Some of our tear sheets analyze their target audience. Um, we have a lot customer sentiment. We have a lot of those. We use a lot of customer sentiment. It's very telling and really helps inform a lot of the other aspects of the tear sheet, what you're hearing from the customers, not just messaging from the competitor. um, Feature breakdowns. Here's just the middle table is a feature breakdown, and even this takes some of the longest time to do, because not only do you need to have a checklist that is common, that are table stakes, that aren't specifically tailored to your company, but actually relevant, that could be applied to most competitors in that market. You then have to do some really intense research to determine if they have those features, and in this case really break down what it costs, the credits it costs, and some of that information is not available. You have to be in the product with a paid subscription to be able to access the uh, information. So that there's that, which is, that's annoying to me. I don't like that, but once it gets done, it's pretty impressive. So yeah. Oh, that's the end of this. That's the end of it. The
That's the end of it.
timelines, the timelines and releases are I think the easiest, because those are very readily available.
Hmm.
And a lot of that is on the competitor's website anyway, and so you can easily access that kind of information. But there's a lot of analysis and a lot of
Hmm.
uh, really having to think about and look at what's not being said, and synthesis. How do you say that word? Synthesizing.
Synthesizing. That's uh, It's
And
interesting kind
here's
of as you're, if I could just throw one thing out quickly, Sarah,
mhm,
um, there are a bunch of this stuff, both in the battle cards and these tear sheets that you may already have. Probably as you're doing your go-to-market plan and all this other stuff, you've um, pulled together your own messaging, pulled together some semblance of pricing analysis or competitive analysis. That can all be baked into this. Not 100% of this needs to be net new in terms of research. I think one of the things that's interesting for me is I assume that we have tons and tons of information about a particular competitor that we've been, in the landscape with for years and years. And this uncovers some real big holes or gaps in our knowledge that we have a lot of go-gets built around. But there's also stuff about their features, or like if you ever did one of those shady tick box like sales slick things, you'll have to redo the feature comparison. But you may have the information already at hand. So that's the other thing. Like looking at this, you're like, oh my God, all this research about credits and pricing and all this stuff. You may have that. You may have to fill some gaps.
mhm, mhm.
Sorry.
No, that was great. Also, there one of the things that I had to really work on developing this skill was creating the so what statements, the slide titles. In one short, concise sentence, it needs to sum up what's on all the information that is on this slide. And that takes some skill as well. So yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So these are examples of our tear sheets and our battle cards, which I end up being very proud of.
That's awesome. If you don't mind flipping to the first one, kind of talk a little bit about use cases. We
The
we
which
the
one?
what did you call it? The insufficient, lesser battle card that only a fool would use. Yeah, that's the
The
one.
basic.
The base. Yeah, hashtag. I don't even know if kids hashtag anymore. Do they? I don't know from that. I have an
I haven't heard
agent.
that from a younger generation in a while. Like I hear it from
That's
my
fine.
generation and older, but I don't really hear it from.
That's That's great. I think it's the main thing is I use Agentic AI to do all of my social media, so I have no idea what's going on there. Um, Sarah did a good job with the tour. I just want to highlight a couple of things around use case and what the purpose of some of these things are. This is the information light version of a battle card, but there's a real reason why you'd want to do it. The one thing I would say is, two things to start off. The one thing I'd say is two things. That's product marketing. Um, so thing one is you got to know your audience. I think that's from the Music Man, but you got to know your audience. So there's two audiences you have here. Um, the first one is the person who's going to be holding this piece of paper in their hand, or more accurately, flipping through it. But it is the intermediary of the information, the salesperson. In the case of a battle card, that audience is, in fact, sales, RFP folks, maybe sales engineering folks, anyone who's going to be interacting with a client or a potential client that might need this information. But as Sarah kind of said, it is or it is client facing in the sense that no, you would never give a battle card like this. This is not a brochure. You're not going to post it on your website. You're not going to include it in an RFP. But the messaging needs to be something that, if said directly or read out loud by a salesperson to a client or to a potential, to a prospect, it makes total sense. It is messaged to them.
Mm.
And then the second one is, if they repeat it, what is it that we want your prospects to know or your clients to know? And so that's kind of the starting point I would say about that. A lot of times, as Sarah kind of pointed out, we see this type of battle card, and maybe it's even lighter. Maybe it's just key messages, or maybe it's the company's logo and it's a couple of their strengths and a couple of their weaknesses. They're very fast,
Or
easy
just
to
a
put
table,
together.
like a
Or
table with like your competitors on one side, features, and
that's
then
right.
check marks. I've
That's
seen a
right.
lot of those, and I'm like,
Check marks. Yeah, shady.
what is that?
Okay. The value is, one, it's easy for you to put together. Two is it's fast. So if you feel like you did a good job with market training or competitive training or messaging training with your salespeople, and you don't need to scaffold them, meaning you don't, like, on the side of a building where you put up the things so people don't fall off while you put up the windows. That was a terrible analogy, or at least it was wordy. But the point is, you want to scaffold them. You don't feel, you've got some experienced salespeople. They're going to say whatever they're going to say anyway. So you put together these battle cards because they don't need a lot of scaffolding. They just need to be reminded of who this is. That makes sense. This is good enough. Let's go. Let's move on to the next thing. Just make sure that, again, anything you have on a battle card, and this is a one pager, anything you have a battle card reinforces itself. Let's look at the next one. The next one is really appropriate for a mixed sales team. And by that, I mean, you can look at it in terms of top performers, middle performers, bottom performers, or you could look at it in terms of experience. So you've got inside sales, you've got junior executives, you've got senior executives who have been in the market for a long time. Senior executives and top performers, you know, you can say all you want to them. They're never going to do, they're going to do exactly what they want to do. And that's great because they're going to be closing. You get $100 million deal. You can say, you don't need to read anything I say. Really, when we're targeting a particular battle card or any kind of sales resource, we're going to target it towards the bottom or the middle performers. If you think about it, if you increase the close rate of the bottom performers by 10%, that's extremely meaningful in terms of your overall sales for the year. Especially if you're a large company, you could be talking about hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, just by giving them better resources. And so this is what this core battle card is. It's one in which there's more scaffolding, where someone can quickly reference the they say, we say, or they can quickly reference the messages. And then if they want to go deeper, there's a SWOT for them. And if they want to go deeper still, there's the second page of the battle card, which is about that product, that competitive product. So again, everything here is messaged to the client, and it's developed in a way that we're trying to make it useful for that salesperson who is a bottom or middle performer. The number one way to do that is to go and talk to sales managers and say, what is it that your team needs the most in terms of competitive information? What are the hardest questions that they have a hard time answering? What are the big objections that you're getting? And then you can build this battle card around that. This battle card should be one product against one competitor in one market. And that means that you can fully customize it. So these messages this is an ed tech battle card we did for a education company. And it's against another education company. It's got a head-to-head product match. And so you can see that the messaging is designed to take them on directly, and the messaging is built in such a way that a person who's quickly reading it can understand it and use it. You imagine that salesperson having printed these things off because they're stuck in the 1990s. But regardless, they've got either a digital or a paper reference. And right before their sales call, they say, oh my God, who's Brightloop? And they pull this up and they can quickly skim it and they get what they want. Or, worst case scenario, they're sitting there doing the discovery call and they're looking at the Brightloop thing, trying to determine whether or not the prospect has been talking to Brightloop as well. Do you mind showing the next slide, Sarah?
Yeah.
And this is just to underscore. I think Sarah really spoke to the component parts that go on this. The one thing I would point out is the customization that goes on this. There should be no mistaking which competitor you're talking about, which product you're comparing them to, and what the value propositions for your product are. The pricing tiers, the ESSA compliance is an ed tech thing or an education thing. Efficacy stuff is education, but you can see the subjects covered. Those can all be changed to be industry specific. Subjects covered could be types of media's output or, sound quality diagnostics, something that, If you're in the construction industry, it's stages of the supply chain, blah, blah, blah. I don't have any idea. I should not have raised that as an example. Uh, but the point is that this is totally customizable. We'll share
Yes.
this so you guys have a sense of it, but rebuild it in a way that makes sense. And it's information that you'd want to know. The big things are, what are the common questions that your salespeople are going to be asking you about these competitors? We get pricing questions a lot. Put the pricing questions on there if you have them. We get, types of things that are, what platforms are they on? That's a universal one. Pricing and platforms are universal across industries that we've been managing. And so make sure that that kind of information is on there. Tech stack or those kinds of things where it's relevant. So again, this is for a, that first battle card, that one sheeter, that may be appropriate for someone who's well trained or well, very experienced. Throw it out there. We don't like to do them because we don't get paid enough. But in all seriousness, like the second set of battle cards are really a little more well-rounded and a lot more content rich. And that's, something that you can give to a bottom or a middle performer to help scaffold them and see if you can raise up that close rate a little bit through your sales enablement and your kind of what we would say information that is persistence, which is another really major point. And I think Sarah may have said this, but certainly reinforced it when she was talking about the research we do. These are not long lasting. You can expect that every new release that competitor does, you need to update the battle cards. And that includes the messaging. And so these, have a repository. I hesitate to distribute these. I know that salespeople or somebody is going to print them off. I always put the date. We don't have it on this because it's an example battle card, but always in the corner say,
I think it's under,
as of.
I think I did have the date on one of them.
Is it somewhere?
I feel like it's in the corner. It's being covered or something.
Make sure it's used with a decoder ring, but always put the date on there so that you can reference which version they have. And the second that the competitor does any kind of an update to its messaging or to its product, come back to this. They're easy to maintain, but they do require maintenance. In ed tech, that's like once a year. In other industries, we do like digital media. It's every 10 seconds. So that's what this battle card is. So there's the 2-pager that's a little more rich. Yeah. We evolved that. Sorry, go ahead. I was evolved it. No, come on.
Well, I was going to say that the information that can be tailored, even if it's just as simple as just a product overview, can really help tailor and steer the conversation. If say your potential customer says, well, Brightloop offers subjects across the board from phonics awareness, fluency, vocabulary comprehension, SEL. Your response can be, well, our product provides pre-K instruction, and Brightloop only offers a formative assessment. We have formative and standalone as well, and the personalization and engagement for Brightloop scores pretty low compared to us. Like that, those are all different types of talking points that you can pull just from three boxes on this one whole page. And that's from, just one comment about the subjects that it covers. So these, it looks kind of trivial, just like glancing at it. But when you actually look at it and think about the information you can pull from this at a glance overview, it can create a big difference in your conversations.
Yeah. I love that.
Oh yeah, see, there's a date. You see it?
Oh, whatever with the date. Oh yeah, look at the date. Where did you? Anyways, I don't know about that. Yeah, so you can see we updated this one 5 years
Back
ago.
earlier
I
this
do.
year, we knew we were going to do this.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. So it's actually a good point that you just made about the at a glance nature of it and being able to kind of see what everything is. Um, if we create a pack of these, like, so, we tend to do a chunk, like 10 of them or something like that. If
Yes.
you're going to create a file or a pack of these, make sure that the first page or so is about your own product. Because again, this is a person who needs scaffolding. You're creating these intending to scaffold someone and help them bolster their knowledge. So really, an at a glance for what your product does, especially if it's new to market, is important. And I think that's a really good thing that Sarah just called out, is the comparative nature of this thing. Like, you're only seeing the competitor. Don't necessarily assume that they know everything there is to know about their product. So, as I started to say before, Sarah so incredibly rudely interrupted me like 3 times, at least 5 times. Um,
10 times. I'm sure it was 10 times.
I'm sure it was 10. So the this evolved into the tear sheets, and if you flip to just the first page of the tear sheet, Sarah. Um, Again, kind of Sarah emphasized synthesis and emphasized kind of aggregating a ton of information and trying to make it so that it's highly consumable. This, again, one product, no messaging. It is really one audience. And so you're no longer in the situation where you're creating something that is client facing, in fact, or customer facing. In fact, you are not. You are creating something that is strategy focused, executive focused, product marketing focused, particularly where you have big teams. This is a question is, how should we invest in la la la? So how should we invest in our product roadmap? What new markets should we be going into? What are the right bets for us to be making as a company? And the thing that is about this is, it's not so much what are the right bets for you. Again, there's an accompaniment to this that is about you and your product. It's more like, what are the bets that the other players are making? So the question is not who are they, what makes us better, and what's in their product. The question becomes, what is it that our competitors think is relevant? What investments are they making? What plays are they making into the future? Which trends, which our team can easily identify, which trends are they placing investment behind and focusing on?
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a big piece of this. Sometimes, this could be used by product managers as well. Sometimes it's a set of competitors that no one knows. We've done that before, motion graphics and stuff like that, where it's just a new set. No one really knows what's going on. Or years ago now, what seems like generations ago, we did one on the basis of web-based generative uh, editors, AI tools, and that was because you couldn't put generative AI on your little handheld device. Regardless, the point is that you're dealing with an emerging market. Nobody knows a lot of those things. So in that particular case, you may find yourself doing a lot more product and competitor education than maybe some of the synthesis stuff that you see on this slide. The two things that I would point
Mm-hmm.
out is, one, that signals answers that question: where are they going? And we have it broken up where it's like, where are they going in terms of use of technology? And then on that second slide, where are they going in terms of monetization? So you can already see these are very different questions than you might answer on a battle card. So monetization signals, what do they believe buyers want, and how are they willing to do that? And then you can see the second and third columns are, what are they actually doing today? What has their trajectory been around monetization? The other thing that we feel very strongly about when we build these out is, and Sarah referenced this, those so what's at the bottom. There are two things, and we used to, you think about this when you're making a sales slick or something like that. People read in terms of an S. The most important information across the top, then it goes lower right, then it goes across the bottom like an S. Everything else, the I does not hit. The I will only hit it when you're wanting to know more. And so all of these headlines are really meant to capture every detail about it. You're dealing with a very busy executive team. If you're presenting like 5 of these aren't something that you're going to present like you normally would. You're absolutely going to roll it up. This is something that's going to be in their Slack or something like that they can download and look at quickly. If they read only one thing, it will be that headline. And that headline has to answer the question, what signals are they making around monetization? It has to answer the question, what is their monetization model? How are they evolving it in this particular case? It's the same with the first one. The first headline needs to answer in one sentence, this is what the product stack is, and this is how they're evolving it. Then every component underneath that is a so what, is a little tidbit of information. And you can kind of think about like every time you finish a sentence, you're like, want to know more? And then you give them the more information. And so the headline and the so what's at the bottom give them everything they need in terms of what your strategic advice is, what your point of view on the market is. And then all the stuff in the middle is the if I want to read some more. Do I ever expect a senior vice president of product to read what's under the pro plan for Gen AI editing? How many credits you get? Probably not. Probably not. There is probably some person in charge of Gen AI, like, I don't know, cross posting. If you're in that business, there's a product manager who definitely cares and is definitely paying attention to that. But the decision makers ultimately need to know the high level of information, need to know what you think are the signals in the market, and need the detail that supports that if they want to know it. Otherwise, they just need the so what's. And so what we've got is 3 pages of so what's. And the reality is we're calling these tear sheets because they're kind of like a battle card in the sense that they are looking at the comparative strengths and the signals of a competitor. But these are supposed to be grab and go. They're supposed to be quick reference in the same ways, but in the sense that it is a strategic point of view, not a messaging recommendation. And so that's what we got. We got 3 things. We got the 1 page battle card with just some messaging and a little bit of reminder about who the competitor is. Great if you've got an experienced sales team who isn't paying attention to battle cards anyways. The second one is your scaffolding for your middle and bottom performers, the folks who really could benefit from some more information about the competitor, some comparative analytics stuff, and something that they can hold on to, even if it's to make them feel all warm and fuzzy and safe right before a sales call. And the third one that we work on is tear sheets. And these are your executive-facing point of view about what's going on in the market, and recommendations or signals about what the competitors are doing. These 3 things are seated in the fact that you're a competitive expert and that you know your market and your landscape and that you are doing the work you need to do to figure out what's going on with your competitors, figure out how to understand their signals, find out what their founders are saying, really use their product and tear it down. That's what we do, Sarah. Sarah's a competitive expert. Sarah's a competitive expert.
I'm very good at it.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, so I think there's a couple of things. One is that if you found this useful, we'll post the templates that we just came up with so you can get a sense of how we do it. Be sure to subscribe, follow, and like our channel. That helps us out. It also helps us understand who's watching it, who's our target audience, so that we can create better content for you.
And share to anyone who you think might find this useful.
Oh, share.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Like, subscribe, share, and comment what you put on your battle cards if you use them, or how you use your battle cards. How are they used strategically in your company?
That's true. That's true. Hopefully, the AI will edit out my butchered version of that because Sarah's final pitch was a great one. I look forward to reading your comments, though. I don't know why. I don't know why. So, Sarah, of those three, which is your favorite?
Of the tear sheets or of
Yeah, I
the
think you
tear
just answered
sheets.
it.
I mean,
Yeah.
I every time we have to do them, I'm like, but I actually get really excited when I'm digging into a competitor, especially if I see something that I can really like explore and then break apart. Uh, that I that's fun for me.
It is fun. It is fun. The
And
aha moment.
yeah, and to be able to like actually pinpoint what makes our client, better.
Yeah.
So,
That's
and another thing that we didn't have on here were sources. We always cite our sources. We have sources listed at the bottom, and it's another thing that I've had to learn to curate because I could have 20 sources, but only
you only
the
need one
exact
blog
ones that I
article
the one
saying
the
one
use that
thing.
I most the ones that I use the most are the ones that we source. But we also have the citations throughout the battle card too
Yeah,
to
that's a really
back up
important point.
and prove what we say. Mhm.
Just for white space, and I know you're looking at these templates being like, what white space exactly? Imagine it with sources at the bottom. It was torture. It was torture. But yeah, I can totally understand why you like tear sheets. I think for me, um, my love-hate relationship is with the middle one, kind of the two-page battle card. I think one is because I like to work with the sales team.
Mhm.
And so a lot of times you might be working with product or product marketing on the tear sheets, which is always good and fun, but I feel like I get closer to it um, if I'm working and I'm engaged with the sales team and stuff like that. Always be close to the revenue center, I would say. But that'll justify your contract at the end of the day. But I think what's interesting about that is the customization piece that we talked about.
Yeah.
And it's being able to kind of say, okay, what are the things that's important about your team, and um, what do we need to work with you on making sure? And
Hmm. Hmm.
again, you end up doing like a ton of them, 10, 15 battle cards at once, and that's all. Everything about a battle card is daunting, tear sheet or otherwise. And you usually have far less time to do battle cards than you do a tear sheet. I say usually because we've had some fast-paced projects recently. But the reality is, I think that second battle card, is about developing relationships with the teams, the sales
Hmm.
team, and stuff like that.
That's true.
The
There's a
tear
lot of
sheet,
communication that goes back and forth between,
yeah,
us and our clients, and being able to really pinpoint exactly what they're looking for, what they want, like how they want to say it. The communication is key to getting these battle cards exactly right and
yeah,
customized.
amen. Amen. And we leave that with you and the fear of an agentic robot future.
Well, there's also another thing that I actually really enjoy about the tear sheets.
We ended
Aside,
with we already covered
I know,
robots
but
killing
this
us.
is really cool. Like being able to find like if so we did one where we did like 10 tear sheets for 10
Hmm.
different competitors, and each competitor had 3 tear sheets, but then we had to take all of the information and find the patterns and the commonalities and where and the signals in the market as a whole, and be able to take a step back and look at that is also something that I enjoy doing, and writing up this is where the whole market is headed. These are the table stakes. These are the differentiators. These are the top players. The not so top players. You don't want to be like them. You want to be a little bit more like these, but in your own type of way.
Our
And
signal individuals are becoming stupider.
I like that part of the tear sheets too, because it's a lot.
That's a fair.
Something you can't really do with the battle cards is that kind of analysis. It's
It's
like whole
true.
market analysis. Okay,
Yeah,
now
it's
I can be
true. I think
done.
that's. No, I think that's a really great point. I'm glad you made it. And I think actually in future episodes we will do much more on comparative analytics. This is a
Mm-hmm.
little bit about, comparing yourself to a competitor, but there is also like looking at the entire landscape and comparing, to the point you just made. I mean, we have now this volume of information. What's the big picture in terms of what's going on in the market, and how are these guys doing against each other? So I think
Yeah.
that's a good that's a good call. All right, we good? All
Yeah.
right, thank you all. We really appreciate it. Look for us next time on your favorite posture podcast.